I treated the words like a dangerous object I was smuggling through customs. It wasn't that I didn't know what to say. I had the speech drafted in the theater of my mind. I had whispered the sentences while chopping vegetables for a dinner I wouldn't taste. I had mouthed them to the foggy bathroom mirror until the steam faded. I had screamed them inside my head while sitting in the driveway. Key in the ignition, going nowhere. I knew the script. I hesitated because I was terrified of the aftermath. There is a seductive comfort in keeping your mouth shut. As long as a thought stays locked in your skull, it's just a ghost. It can't hurt you. It can't change anything. But the moment you push it out into the air, it grows teeth. It becomes a physical thing in the room that you have to navigate. And there is no undo button for the truth. But before we step into that dimly lit living room, to the exact second the trajectory of my marriage shifted, I want to hit the pause button. I need to ask you something. If you are the kind of person who hears the volume in the quietest moments, if you know that sometimes the most deafening noise in a relationship is the sound of two people not talking, then please consider subscribing to this channel. It's a small click for you, a digital thumbs up, but it helps these intimate stories find the people who are currently feeling invisible. And if this story resonates with a truth you're holding on to, press the like button. I'm also curious about where you are right now. Are you listening to this while the city rushes by outside your window? Are you hidden away in a mountain cabin? Or are you sitting in your car in a parking lot, needing a minute before you walk through your front door? Tell me in the comments. I want to know who is sharing this space with me. Now, let's return to the moment. Take a deep breath. Hold it for a second. Let it out. The evening in question was aggressively ordinary. That is the trick life plays on us. The tectonic shifts rarely happen during a hurricane. They usually happen on a Tuesday that looks exactly like every other Tuesday. It was the dead of winter. Outside, a silent snow was burying the street, muffling the world. Inside, the heating vents were humming a low, steady drone. The house smelled of the cinnamon candle I'd blown out an hour ago and the lingering scent of fabric softener. The house was peaceful, but peace can be a mask. A museum is peaceful. An empty stage is peaceful. He was sitting in the corner spot of the velvet sectional, the dark blue one we'd bought when we moved in, thinking it would host parties we never threw. He was sunk into the cushions, his body turned slightly toward the wall. He was scrolling through a news feed on his phone, the white light bleaching his skin, making him look like a marble statue of the man I married. The television was playing a cooking competition on mute. The subtitles flashed by, people frantic about soufflés, filling the visual space where our connection used to be. I was on the other side of the sectional, a thick knitted blanket pulled up to my chin. I had a book open, but I was still on page 42. I'd been on page 42 for 3 nights. I wasn't reading the book. I was reading him. I wasn't furious. Please understand that. This isn't a story about a hidden text message or a credit card bill. There was no villain twirling a mustache. I was watching him, and I felt a physical weight in my solar plexus, a dull ache that felt like hunger, but for intimacy. It was the ache of being unseen. We had been navigating life together for 11 years. In 11 years, you learn the rhythm of a person's existence. I knew the way he tapped his foot when he was impatient. I knew the sound of his key in the lock. I knew his silence. And that night, watching his thumb rhythmically scroll up the screen, I realized he was content. He was comfortable. He was safe. He was on cruise control. And that realization terrified me more than any argument could. We spend our youth chasing stability, don't we? We want the roots, the foundation. But there is a dangerous side to stability. If you aren't careful, stability hardens into concrete. You get stuck. You stop seeing the person next to you as a mystery to be solved and start seeing them as a fixture, like a lamp or a coffee table. I moved then. I shifted my legs, sliding closer to the center of the couch. I rested my cold feet against his leg, looking for a spark. He didn't look up from the article he was reading. He shifted his leg automatically to accommodate me and absent-mindedly pulled the edge of the blanket over my feet. It was a kind gesture. It was polite. But it was the kind of thing a nurse does for a patient. It was devoid of intent. It was purely mechanical. That small, caring, hollow action hurt more than if he had ignored me. It broke the dam. I suddenly grieved the days when he couldn't sit next to me without touching my hand. I missed being a magnet. Now I just felt like part of the upholstery. I tried to swallow the feeling. I ran the internal logic we all use to keep the peace. Stop it, I told myself. He's tired from the quarter-end reports, I reasoned. This is what long-term love looks like. It's quiet. It's boring. Be grateful you aren't fighting. But the truth is a stubborn seed. It was growing in my throat, choking me. The physical distance between us was 18 inches, but the emotional distance was an ocean. The cooking show ended. The screen went dark for a second before the network logo bounced around. He sighed, a long exhale of the day's stress, and reached for the remote control. You ready to turn in? He asked. His voice was flat. He wasn't asking, he was stating the schedule. I opened my mouth to say, yeah, let's go. It was the easy path. Turn off the lights. Brush teeth. Sleep back to back. Repeat until we die. But the words I had been hiding clawed their way up. Wait, I said. Don't turn it off yet. My voice sounded rusty, too loud in the snow-muffled room. He froze. His thumb hovered over the power button. He turned his head, and for the first time that evening, his eyes actually locked onto mine. He didn't look through me, he looked at me. He saw the wetness in my eyes. He put the remote down on the side table with a deliberate click. He placed his phone face down. Okay, he said slowly. Is something wrong? The silence that filled the room wasn't the lazy silence of earlier. It was heavy. It was the silence of a held breath. I picked at the wool of the blanket. I didn't know how to start without sounding demanding. How do you tell your partner, I'm lonely, when they are sitting right there? I've been afraid to say this, I whispered. He didn't interrupt. He shifted his body, turning fully to face me, his knees knocking against mine. I don't want to sound ungrateful, I stammered. I love the life we built. I love this house. I love you. He nodded, a small frown line appearing between his eyebrows. I know. But, I force myself to look him in the eye. I feel like we are just coexisting. We're excellent partners. We run the logistics of this marriage perfectly. But I feel like I haven't met my husband in months. And I don't think you've really seen me since the summer. He blinked. He didn't get defensive. He looked surprised, and then he looked sad. I almost didn't say it. I admitted, my voice breaking. I was scared that if I brought it up, I'd ruin the calm. I didn't want to create a problem where there wasn't one. That was when he surprised me. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, closing the gap. Darling, he said, his voice dropping an octave. You don't save a marriage by pretending it's perfect. You save it by being real, even when it's uncomfortable. The tension in my shoulders collapsed. I hadn't expected wisdom. I had expected a defense. I miss us, I said, the tears finally spilling over. I don't need the grand gestures. I don't need Paris. I just miss the connection. I miss the way we used to talk about things that weren't the bills or the weather. Lately, it feels like you look at me and you just see a box you've already checked off. He let out a long breath, running a hand through his hair. He looked at the dark window, then back to me. I thought we were doing well, he admitted quietly. I thought this quiet, this routine. I thought it was the goal. I thought it meant you were happy. I thought it meant we were secure. I am secure, I said. But I don't want secure to be the only adjective for our love. For a long moment, the only sound was the wind rattling the window pane. Then he reached out. He didn't just pat my leg this time. He took my hand, lacing his fingers through mine, squeezing hard enough to ground me. I didn't know you felt that isolated, he said. He paused, looking at our joined hands. Actually, that's not true. I think I've been feeling it too, but I ignored it. I got lazy. I assumed I already won you, so I stopped playing the game. We don't have to just fade out, I said. We don't have to become roommates. So, he asked, rubbing his thumb over my knuckles. How do we fix it? What do we do? That was the pivot point. We have to choose it, I said. Choose what? Choose each other, I answered. Not out of habit. Not because we share a mortgage. I want us to wake up and decide to be together. I want us to pay attention on purpose. He looked at me, really studied my face, and the glazed look of the last few months evaporated. I want that, he said. I want that more than anything. I just forgot how to do it. We didn't go to sleep right away. We didn't magically fix a year of drift in 20 minutes. This isn't a movie. But the frequency in the room changed. He moved closer. He wrapped his arms around me, pulling me into the warmth of his chest. He kissed me. It wasn't the peck on the cheek before work. It was slow. It was deliberate. It was a kiss that asked a question. Are you still in there? And it waited for the answer. I am here. In that winter quiet room, I realized how starved I had been to be perceived. To feel that when I sent a signal out, someone was actually tuning their receiver to catch it. That night didn't end with fireworks. It ended with conversation. We talked about his anxiety about his career, not just the facts, but the feelings. We talked about a trip I wanted to take. We laughed about a terrible movie we saw on our third date. The honesty felt raw, like walking on fresh snow, but it felt real. In the weeks that followed, the change wasn't instant. It was intentional. We made new rules. No phones after 8 p.m. It sounds small, but looking at a human face instead of a backlit screen changes the chemistry of the evening. We stopped asking, "How was your day?" which invites a one-word answer. Instead, we asked, "What made you laugh today?" Or, "What was the hardest part of your morning?" We started taking coffee together in the morning, just 5 minutes, standing in the kitchen. Sometimes, when I'm reading, he will reach over and just hold my hand. No agenda, just contact. And sometimes, I catch him watching me from the kitchen doorway. And he's not looking past me. He's seeing me. He's seeing the partner he chose, not just the woman who lives in his house. Every now and then, I think back to that moment on the blues sectional. I think about the sentence I almost swallowed. I think about how easy it would have been to just say, "Yeah, turn off the TV." We could have sat there for another 20 years, perfectly polite strangers, slowly freezing to death while sitting right next to each other. I am so incredibly glad I spoke up. I learned something vital that night. Some truths don't shatter a relationship, they weld it back together. They burn off the fog. Not every turning point in your life is a tragedy or a triumph. Not every change comes with a warning siren. Sometimes, the most critical moment of your life is a snowy Tuesday evening on a velvet couch. Sometimes, saving your love comes down to one sentence you almost didn't say. We often think of love as a noun, something you have. But I have learned that love is a verb. It is something you do, and often it is something you say. So, let me ask you one last time, as you listen to this. Is there a heavy truth sitting in your chest right now? Is there a sentence pressing against the back of your teeth that you are afraid to release? Are you choosing the safety of silence over the risk of connection? Don't let the silence win. If this story, this quiet, honest confession, resonated with you, you are welcome here. We are building a community of people who are willing to have the hard conversations. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps me find you. Tap the like button if this felt familiar. It tells me I'm not alone, and neither are you. And talk to me in the comments. You don't have to write a novel. Just tell me where you're listening from. Or, if you're brave, tell me, have you ever had a conversation that saved you? I'm reading. I'm listening. Until next time, remember, love is a conversation. Don't stop talking.